big welcome to our fellow Kippers and patriots and friends. Over the past year and a half, we have rebuilt this party locally, and I can honestly say UKIP is alive and well here in Northern Ireland. It's a great privilege to stand here today as one of the 18 candidates standing for UKIP across Northern Ireland. We have candidates from many different backgrounds and walks of life: businessmen, veterans, retired police officers, administrators, carers, night shift workers and retail workers. All of us, husbands, wives, parents and grandparents, concerned about the future that we leave our children and grandchildren. We have a slate of hard-working candidates who are determined to put local interests and needs first. All of our candidates will put people before self-service, an all too rare commodity in today's politics. UKIP has a clear and identifiable message in this election on the 2nd of May. A vote for a UKIP candidate is a vote for a representative who believes in standing up for local interests and local democracy. Vote for UKIP if you believe in candidates who will stand up for freedom of speech and conscience. Vote for UKIP if you want candidates who will stand up for Brexit, stand up for our union, and stand up for our nation. I'll just take a minute now to talk about our main policy here today. It brings together what we have come to know as UKIP for the Union. The combined efforts and primary policy platform for UKIP in Northern Ireland, UKIP in Scotland and UKIP in Wales. For 45 years our sovereignty was held hostage by the EU. In 2016 we made the decision to take back that sovereignty, take back control and leave the undemocratic and unaccountable European Union. Three years on, we have witnessed the political class try every trick in the book to betray the people and deny us our democratically achieved EU exit. The fight for our freedom from the EU still continues, and trust me when I say UKIP will not be found wanting. There is another long-term threat to the sovereignty of the United Kingdom. Yes, legislative devolution. To the mainstream political class, you cannot and must not criticise our current system of devolution. After all, if you're daft enough to believe the recycled literature going through letterboxes from the old parties, they and the system they created are seemingly the answer to all of our woes and problems. But let's have a wee look at that. When you look at the history of the Stormont Assembly, it has continually failed to deliver good government. When it was fully functional and operational, the only thing the forced coalition and its assembly delivered to us was years of scandal, gridlock, indecision, political point scoring, and the petty politics of Carville. When you think of the Northern Ireland Assembly, do you think of a legislative chamber that delivered success to us, the people?
No.
Do you think of a triumph of democracy?
No.
When I think of the history of the Assembly, I think of things like Red Sky, NAMA, RHI, expenses scandals, and lots of our money going up in smoke. I think of the £11 million of our money that has funded the lifestyle of a work-shy political class for the last 2 years. I think of the fact that we are paying to keep the lights and heating on in what has become nothing more than an exclusive VIP canteen for lazy politicians. The current system has allowed for a situation to develop whereby political parties have been able to hijack and abuse it to line their own pockets and further their own agendas. Shamefully, there hasn't been a functioning assembly or executive for almost 2.5 years. Yet MLAs still collect their salaries and expenses. Our politicians cannot agree enough to form a lasting government, but they have been able to agree to continue this saga, with civil servants have been in charge of governance with no democratic oversight. There is a clear democratic deficit here. All of this has happened because the broken system which the old parties created allows for it. Simply put, they are unwilling to show a clear way forward. We will. Instead of tinkering around the edges, as some have suggested, we in UKIP today propose something different, a real way forward. Let's stop the money for nothing gravy train by scrapping Stormont completely. And let's instead transfer administrative powers over local services to local people via their local councils. UKIP is a true UK Unionist party that's standing up for the people of this nation in all 4 parts of it. Across the UK, in Northern Ireland, Scotland and in Wales, we are calling for an end to the current devolution system. We believe in smaller government, and we believe in putting local decisions back into the hands of local people. We believe in returning sovereignty to the people of this nation. This has to start somewhere. The United Kingdom Parliament must be sovereign, but in a Northern Ireland context, by transferring many more local administrative powers and services down to district councils, this would provide decision making, scrutiny and democratic accountability at a local level. Due to the reorganisation of local government a few years ago, 11 district authorities now exist. The changes we are proposing would be possible with the political will. Stormont is a completely useless, ineffective and incredibly expensive extra tier of government that we simply do not need. Such a change to the system here would bring an end to the current political stalemate, provide true democratic local decision making, and it would safeguard the long-term sovereignty of the United Kingdom by halting the failed project of legislative devolution. Folks, this entire devolution project has been used as a Trojan horse, weaponised from within by those who wish to break up our union. UKIP is standing up for our union and standing up for local democracy. It is not a coincidence that some of Northern Ireland's best economic figures in recent memory have come during the 2 years in which we've had no functioning Stormont Assembly or Executive. Instead of clinging onto an antiquated system which is failing people, UKIP is today offering a practical way forward which saves taxpayers' money and puts them, not the politicians, first. We have common sense local policies that put the interests of the people first. This platform policy on bringing an end to the Stormont gravy train is our main policy in these council elections and beyond. On May the 2nd, I encourage the people of Northern Ireland to vote UKIP in the areas that we are standing. Let's really shake things up. UKIP for the Union.